So as you can see, right here, we have Anna Riddell Weaver. We have Mr. Merrick. We have Pete, Pete Donahue, and the door is locked, as you can see here. See that? So they have basically at the town meeting today already. They actually have a quorum here for the board meeting that's to start at 6:30. And they've got a quorum that's been here for who knows 10 or 15 minutes meeting without the public. And that really is not something that is generally allowed with respect to open meetings law in the state of New York. Let's see. So, of course, they're not going to open the doors until they're good and ready to open the doors. The problem with that is that when a board meets without the public, in a public meeting, and of course when they have a quorum of the board available that is together, then that is a quorum of the board. And as a quorum meeting at the town hall, that needs to be open to the public, which it is not. That is quite a telltale sign of the kinds of non-transparency that's going on right now inside the town of Western. So now they're opening the door, I believe, for the public. Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
See that? So they have basically at the town meeting today already.
This is where the town hall is, right?
Yes, they haven't posted this on board or online that I remember seeing, which is a basic listing of all the meetings, even though they typically don't change. That is generally, I haven't seen that online, so I'll have to ask at some point in time if somebody has that. Something that is generally allowed with respect to open meetings law in the state of New York. As you can see, they've locked the door here, so and made that. Of course, they're not going to open the doors until they're good and ready. Maybe they want me to open the doors. The problem with that is that we're actually goes meets without the public. In a public meeting, and of course, when they have a
water company, your interaction with the water company.
No, I got you. Why don't you just get your hands off my equipment, please? Do not touch my equipment. Please do not touch. I will call the police right now. Okay? Keep your hands off of my equipment. You will not touch my equipment. Period. So that is quite a telltale sign of the kinds of non-transparency that's going on right now inside the town of Western. Yeah, frickin' incredible. Can't be any higher than 6 feet. They're opening the door, I believe, for the public. Carol, keep this, aimed with this, aimed at that.
Just like this.
And this aimed between the two legs. But you can see they're going in the back room to meet. Yes, that is online that I remember seeing, which is a basic listing of all the meetings. Okay, this is just a backup change. That is generally, I haven't seen that online, so I have to ask at some point in time if somebody has that. As you can see, they've locked the door here and made that and for employees only, no access. Maybe they want me to open the door so that they can have us arrested for actually
Intentions and
going
results,
in there.
Mr. Peavy.
Hi, how you doing?
Intentions and results.
Yeah, yeah.
You pleased with your results with the water company? Your interaction with the water company? No, I want to.
No, I got you.
No.
Why don't you just get your hands off my equipment, please? Do not touch my equipment. Please, do not touch. I will call the police right now.
Go ahead.
Okay? Keep your hands off of my equipment. You will not touch my equipment. Period. You best not. Incredible. That is, but it's a waste of money. Incredible. Can't be any higher than 6 feet. Hopefully it's just a filter, but if it's an air conditioner, it's a waste of money. Carol, keep this, aimed with this, aimed at that.
Just like this.
And this aimed between the two tables. As you can see, they're going in the back room to meet. That is, yeah.
Then I have my parking lot and nowhere to go.
Okay. Yeah, this is just a backup. It's a waste of money. Hopefully it's just a filter. If it's an air conditioner, it's a waste of money. Don't turn that on. Don't turn that on because it'll overheat. Just leave it off. It'll go off by itself.
Somebody's concerned if there's something about
I heard about the stripper. He put me and my wife in the chat, so we get to I don't know where
Raise this up to get it out of the noise. Hey Dave. Excuse me, how you doing? Good. Just the higher it is away from the noise, the better.
Never heard it.
Just concentrate on this. That'll be okay. Don't turn that on. Don't turn that on because it'll overheat it. Just leave it off. It'll go off by itself. So we're going to get started with this meeting in about 24 minutes. We've got a couple of things going on at the meeting today. We do have a town board here in Western that refuses to follow New York State FOIL law. These folks here, these four folks, and the town supervisor, which isn't at the table right yet, basically turn down any opportunity to answer given FOIL with respect to accounting information in the town of Western. That failure of the board to simply answer and then fulfill that request, generating an Article 78, which is a lawsuit for the town of Western, held in a court with a judge, which will basically determine at the end of that hearing, at great cost to the taxpayer in the town of Western,
Just the higher it is away
they
from the
must
noise, the better.
supply that accounting information to the public. That accounting information being nothing outside of the norm. In fact, the town of Lee provides that information online to the public. But the town of
Just
Western,
concentrate on
and
this.
its
That'll be okay.
need to maintain that non-transparency is going to make sure that the people in the town of Western, the taxpayers, that is you, taxpayers in Western, have no way to hold them accountable for the accounting process in the town of Western. Now, that accounting process is pretty standard with respect to all municipalities in New York State. And in 4 minutes, the required FOIL access
of things
to the
going on
people of those accounts and those balances and any interest made and or transfers in those accounts above and beyond what the board wants to tell you is available to the public in New York State via New York State FOIL. So the mere fact that these folks here are blowing smoke up your skirts, telling you you can't have that information, is simply because of their arbitrary mannerisms, behavior, and methods, because they just don't want to give it to you, okay? And that is clearly a shame, because the people of Western, the taxpayers in Western, are going to have to foot the $3,000 to $5,000 that it's going to take the town attorney to represent this town in a losing case against the public of Western that simply wants to see the accounting data that every other town makes available to the public in the town that it serves across all municipalities in New York State. So that's the first issue, and that is one of those things that this town just cannot give up. They've got their teeth sunk into that. They're not going to give that up. They're going to hold the public taxpayers' dollars hostage. They're basically going to make you pay because you, the public, which includes all of us, want to know how our tax dollars are being spent in the town of Western. And that, my friends, is the root of FOIL and open meetings law in the state of New York, which this town board here refuses to follow, believe, comprehend, or understand, whether that's out of ignorance or whether that's out of some other process. In any case, it's not good for the people. And transfers in those accounts above and beyond what the board wants to tell you is available to the public in New York State. So let's, I hope you heard me. If you didn't hear me, well, I think you did. But let's see. I want to make sure we're online and ready to rock here. Telling you you can't have that information is simply because of their arbitrary mannerisms, behavior, and methods, because they just don't want to give it to you, okay? And that is clearly a shame, because the people of Western...
So we've probably got about 78 to 85 degrees in the town hall in Western today. That is amazing. Amazing in the year 2025 that we have a town board that could care less about the public attending these meetings. And they're not going to get air conditioning for the public. Why should they? They're trying to minimize the ability of the public to attend the very meetings that we see right here tonight in this town hall. How better than to prevent people from coming to see this meeting and observe the deliberations of this board than to not have air conditioning in the building that you pay for in this town of Western. You can see the fans. They have fans set up in different locations through the room. I don't know what this other thing is. I don't know whether it's a filter. I don't know whether it's a humidity air conditioner. I have no clue. But the humidity is extremely high. And if that's what I think it is, it's almost like a swamp cooler, which really solves nothing other than dumping humidity into the air. In a hotter climate, where it's drier and there's no humidity, a swamp cooler works perfect. I don't know what that is. They probably won't tell us. But there it sits, okay? You know it's got water in the bottom? It's blowing a fan. So let's sucking up that air and trying to evaporate that air. Well, I think you did.
Let's see. I want to make sure we're online and ready to rock here. Swamp cooler in a humid environment doesn't make it cooler. So hopefully they'll tell us what that is. So we've probably got about 78 to 85 degrees in the town hall in Western today.
Keep an eye on
That is amazing.
because you have this right here.
Amazing in the year 2025 that we have a town board that can care less about the public attending these meetings. And they're not going to get air conditioning for the public. Why should they? They're trying to minimize the ability of the public to attend the very meetings that we see right here tonight in this town hall. How better than to prevent people from coming to see this meeting and observe the deliberations of this board than to not have air conditioning in the building that you pay for in this town of Western.
Do you need to come back here with that?
They have fans.
Who's got it?
Locations through the room. I don't know what this is. I don't know whether it's a filter. I don't know whether it's a humidity air conditioner. But the humidity is extremely high. But I think it is. It's almost like a swamp cooler, which really solves nothing other than dumping humidity into the air. In a hotter climate, where it's drier and there's no humidity, I don't know what they probably won't tell us. But there it sits, okay? It's got water in the bottom. It's blowing a fan, so it's sucking up that air and trying to evaporate that air and make it cool, but it doesn't make it cool. A swamp cooler in a humid environment doesn't make it cooler. So hopefully they'll tell us what that is.
We're going to get started in about 7 minutes.
So I came home, my guys were here, as the door out, Monday morning, go back and have it.
Everybody was looking for pool places. Hey, they said, how about all that fans? I should have told you, you can't sit there.
Good evening, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I want to thank the Sheriff's Department for joining us this evening. Just to let everybody know, one of the reasons I'm considering having the police present during our meetings is because I have been approached several times now from individuals that would like to attend our meetings and are uncomfortable coming to the meetings due to other persons here and the behavior that occurs sometimes. So we're considering this as an alternate to hopefully encourage people to join us and to enforce our policies. The other thing I want to mention is this is not acceptable on our bulletin boards within the building. If you feel that we are feeding, then please just feel free to approach me with your information that shows that. But to post this is unacceptable, and it's just, in my opinion, immature behavior. Thank you. It's regarding our addition to the building and that. So, moving on. Approval of the minutes from the previous board meeting. Any questions, concerns?
No, I thought they looked good.
Have anything?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of bills is submitted by the town clerk.
All right, highway fund is $268,323.35. General fund is $56,337.49. $276,461.97.
Any questions for Melissa? Corrections?
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
Nope, I just was gonna say they didn't add,
Okay.
they didn't bring it down here. We just
Yep.
put this up here.
That's emergency service code.
Oh, yeah, that's...
All right,
Missing.
324, yes.
I think the problem is, your last line item under the general fund, the payment for the new dump truck loan, that should go under the highway.
That's not right. The general fund amount doesn't carry down to the bottom of it. I have to manually add it in there. So the total balance is $324,660.84. I didn't catch that, usually I do.
Okay.
Any other questions for Melissa?
So the mistake is on the total for general fund on the front page? Okay.
On the second, yeah. They
Okay.
transfer over.
Yep. When you make that update, can you send me a new copy so I can post it?
Motion to accept Melissa's,
I'll make a motion with direction.
and second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisors report. General fund townwide, $2,406,546.09. Highway fund, $1,252,299.02. Capital reserves, $145,685.33. Reserve machinery, $220,000. Fire Protection District, $714.25. Street Lighting District, $8,904.45. Trust and agency is zero, for a total of $4,034,149.14. Any questions, comments? Motion to accept,
I'll make that motion.
in a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. There's very little correspondence tonight. We did receive a letter from the New York State Association of Towns that our annual dues for next year will be $900. They base it on our 23 comptrollers report. They're always like 3 years, 2 years behind in it. So that will be what we'll be paying for our dues. And the Penn Mountain Snow Riders Club wrote a letter letting people know that they're looking to apply for a grant that will, if they receive it, it will allow them to buy equipment and work on their trail system through here. Part of it is looking for not necessarily donations, but letters of support. However, this didn't come until a week ago, and they were already due. They were due like 5 days after this came. But if anyone's involved with them, I'm sure they probably still could accept them. Boyd? Oh, Highway Superintendent?
That's fine.
Sorry, Preston.
Yeah, almost. Thanks, Missy. Okay, the paving projects are complete for this year, which was about 2.95 miles. That's pretty huge for the town. I don't know if we've ever done over 2. So that's a pretty big push this year. We still gotta do a little bit of chip sealing yet, but we're waiting. So hot, pavement's acting a little funny, so we're waiting for it a little bit to cool. The county came and put the shoulders on Slide Hill, Dock Hill, and George Street. We've been working on shoulders, ditching, culverts, mowing, trying to get culverts in on the roads we plan on paving next year, give them time to settle. We helped Ava Lee and Ansville because they helped us with all of our work this summer. We resubmitted the salt shed grant, see where that goes again. We got the plans back for the barn, we'll talk about that later, truck quotes, sand quotes, but that's all coming up later, so that's about it for now.
Okay, thanks, Preston.
Yeah.
No, pull over.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna go to Mr. Fuller, our insurance agency. He's gonna come, you can bring the chair up here if you want, or from there, wherever.
Yeah.
He's gonna speak to us about our insurance policy that we're about to renew.
Well, appreciate it. This is my first time coming down to the town of Western. The town, we've been doing business with each other about a dozen years, maybe a little bit longer. Primary point of contact up until about 3 years ago, was Mike Gillette, who worked for my family for a long time. Mike passed sort of unexpectedly, and I've been kind of handling our municipal business ever since. Again, I feel like 2011, I didn't look before, but so, ever since you came, the town has been insured with NYMER, the New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal. It's a not-for-profit insurer that you subscribe into. The Association of Towns endorses it, counties and mayors, things like that. So it's a municipal-only insurer. Towns, villages, special districts within the state. I think insuring 900 some other of your counterparts. They put together an insurance program that is designed for municipalities. Their approach, as Preston knows, to things like risk management and loss control are derived to give back and support you. Being a not-for-profit insurer, there's no stockholders keep happy. I always say that doesn't mean that no one's making any money in it, right? I'm not here for free, but that's built into your premium. And then there is an attorney, in fact, that is managing the whole operation, settling claims and things of that nature, and administering the affairs of NYMER. NYMER last year celebrated 30 years. They were created in a hard market. We're very much still in a hard insurance market. And in the mid-90s, NYMER came together because municipalities were having a hard time finding not every line of insurance, but certain lines of insurance. And so, through the ups and downs of the insurance market, NYMER is sort of way that they're not always going to be the best price. They're not always going to be the lowest price. Many times they will, but they shine in a hard market because they're answering to their subscribers, right? We're not trying to appeal to stockholders to keep happy. They're able to try to, keep things as steady as possible and trying to get everyone to buy in together to, what we're asking Preston to do in his department or a town recreation department is no different than what we're asking Lewis County or other of your counterparts. We want everyone to combine the collective to be stable. With that, the insurance renewed on August 1st. So I have the policies for Anna. I'll hand deliver those. If you can sign that acknowledgement that you got me, Anna, so I don't have to mail it. I do have a proposal that we can go through because I know, things we've turned over. Preston's been on a little bit. Anna, right? I can spend as much time as you want to go through that, or as little. I can breeze through it, and if you want questions, or if you don't want me to do that, it's really up to what you would like tonight. The proposal I have, though, would be what we would present, in advance of a renewal or to a new, so it's really a summary, and there's the disclaimer there. This binder is the terms and conditions of that policy, right? So I've got copies for everybody. I'm short one, but, so I'll give you those. So here's the policy. You can just sign that out for me. And then this again is that proposal. So you're the attorney? Yeah. So you get lucky, you don't get the...
That's okay.
So this would be the proposal?
This is the proposal. This is a summary. Again,
I think if you hit the highlights and
that sounds good.
like the change with the building next door.
Yeah, so again, I'll breeze through this quick. It's obviously here, the policies are there. Preston knows how to get a hold of me, Anna does. If anyone has any specific questions, feel free. But as we get into it, I'm just gonna go to page 4, which is commercial property. So this year, we've got, in the property, we've got a blanket limit of $3,150,000. Blanket in commercial insurance, you think about all of our locations roll up into one. You got a total amount of insurance in place for property insurance. Keep in mind, we've got some asterisks. So this building and the library are not in that blanket limit because they're older and a little more historical. They're insured on what we call functional replacement. So we're not going to put it back as it were with, what are these 10-foot ceilings or 11, whatever they are. We're going to put functional equivalent back. So they're not in the blanket. And then what we're calling the temporary town hall, which I know there's been some discussion about that. That's actually insured on an actual cash value. what's it worth, basically. So those 3 buildings are not in the blanket limit. But when you go to our statement of values, which would be, I guess that's page 7, all of those numbers add up to that 3.1 million, with the exception of those buildings I'm indicating. So a blanket limit, not this building, but let's just take the town barn for example. The town barn has got, it's called New Town Garage, 1.6 million. If 1.6 million weren't enough and it's in a blanket limit, 3 million is really the number. So a blanket and agreed value, which is what we have all of the buildings at, except those 3 I talked about, it's like the Cadillac. You can't get better coverage than that. There's no what we call co-insurance penalty, and all of your insurance rolls up. So if 1.6 weren't enough, you can tap in the blanket limit. NYMER does an appraisal, and they were out within the last couple of years. They do an appraisal every 5 years of all your buildings that are more than 100,000. And what that is designed to do is to make sure that that limit is up. That's one reason why the building that we had the issue with the claim, that I think was insured for 750, is because NYMER came out, appraised it, and said, we think you need to have 750,000 on it. Appraisals, though, you talk about that's a benefit of NYMER. They're not free. In NYMER's case they are, but one of our other insurance companies a couple years ago suggested that, boy, we really think you should have your buildings appraised. And they're like, we're not going to do it for you. Go out and hire an appraiser to do it. And they were like, market value, that might be $5,000 to $10,000. So that's just the value added that NYMER does. Sure, they want you insuring the value, but it's a built-in component, so you don't get caught. There's lots of bells and whistles, just like in homeowner insurance policies or business policies. What NYMER in their program, what they've done is they've said, these are the ones that we think are most important to municipalities, and that's where those bells and whistles are. I'm not going to get into all of them. That's kind of property coverage. We go to general liability, which would be page 11. Liability, we think legal, right? Liability, general liability, operational liability. We're maintaining a highway department. We've got a town park, right? So $1 million per occurrence, $3 million aggregate, it's a location aggregate. NYMER's general liability form builds a lot of things into it. I don't want to call it pollution liability. It is, don't think of it as pollution, but they're giving you a little bit of not a buyback, but pollution liability typically excluded, total pollution excluded. They're sort of giving it back for certain sudden accidental things. Recreation programs are automatically covered. The court's automatically covered. So again, operational liability. Cyber, up until a couple years ago, the town did purchase cyber, but cyber insurance has gone crazy. NYMER asked a lot of questions, and so a couple of years ago, we were just behind the 8 ball on it, and then it's still an option. It's not that it's all that expensive. I think municipalities need to gauge whether or not that's an important coverage that we want. I'm going to say that you need it, because every client really should buy cyber liability insurance, liability and first party, but it hasn't been on the policy in a couple of years.
Yeah, I just sent in the application to Elizabeth.
To get cyber, insurers, even if we're standalone cyber insurers, you got to commit to a lot. Multi-factor, for example. I can't operate in my world anymore without having multi-factor on everything. So to get cyber insurance, you got to commit to certain things. A lot of municipalities either don't think that they have the exposure or are just a little bit behind. You're better served getting an IT consultant to go through those things and make sure you're doing everything there before you start talking about cyber insurance. The next page, crime coverage, employee dishonesty. In your case, it's governmental crime. It includes the faithful performance of duty, which you all have that oath. We don't have a lot of crime coverage, 5,000 per loss, but then we've got specific limits on certain positions. The tax collector, deputy tax collector, town supervisor. The limits are low, so that might be something that you want to think about, bumping those up. Crime insurance is relatively inexpensive, but again, like cyber, when you start asking for higher limits, the insurance company's going to start saying, hey, what are your policies and procedures around certain areas? NYMER's been sending a survey around on that. Again, they're just, if you want a certain limit, what are your procedures around, are you having an external audit? Things of that nature. So that, to buy crime, they're willing to do it. The premium's not much, but in order to get there, you've got to sort of, not acquiesce, but you've got to understand what their concerns are, what the procedures are in place in order to buy them, if that makes sense. So, as we get into the next page is the auto liability, really more in Preston's purview. You've got 10 trucks that we're insuring, vehicles, all in the highway department. The vast majority of them, all but one, are actually insured for physical damage on what we call the inland marine policy. So you'll see why it's like that, all but the pickup. Which inland marine is the next section. So all of the autos that we're insuring on the inland marine. The reason we do that, that's a NYMER thing. It goes back 30 years. It was one way to help rate. So, all these rates got to be filed in the state. Inland marine rates, a little bit less money, right? It's a way to save a little bit of premium. So just about 1.4 million in auto physical damage, and then all the other stuff, the loaders and tractors and things like that, 662,000. Then the smaller stuff, 31,000. There is a correction on the premium. I think it's about 160 bucks. We just found NYMER was duplicating a coverage. There's coverage if Preston rents a piece of equipment up to a certain limit. That's happened before, particularly when you're doing road work. So then you can see the list of schedule of the vehicles and the equipment. We went through that, with Anna and Preston to make sure that all the equipment is insured properly. I mean, the moral of the story, if you buy something, a new grader or loader or whatever, we want to get it insured, right? Public officials liability is the next section. We talked about general liability being operational. Public officials is really more, I like to think of it as decision making. That's protecting you. Works a little bit different than general liability. But again, NYMER's public officials form has been broadened in recent years to really meet the needs of towns and villages and cities and counties. Your employment practices liability is built in there. Also, they've extended that in recent years, what they call extended employment practices, but things like EEOC or BHR, stuff like that, typically was never covered under public officials. NYMER sort of gave a little bit of that because lots of times that was thought to be where you're getting into back wages and things, more punitive in nature. It's not, but they've added some extensions for that. Full prior acts, so we're going back in time because employment practices and public officials is what we call claims made. Coverage, when you have coverage in place right now, it's when the claim was made, not when maybe the occurrence happened, unlike general liability insurance or auto liability. That's when did it happen? When was the auto accident? When did somebody slip and fall? When did somebody get hurt at the town park? The occurrence, right? Public officials is claims made. When was the claim first presented? The occurrence could have been 2 years ago. We've got an excess liability policy of $5 million each occurrence. Think of it like the term umbrella. Most people are familiar with umbrella. An umbrella in excess accomplish the same goals, but they are different in nature. Excess just means the policy that you have enforced, we're adding another limit. We're not broadening coverage like an umbrella. So $5 million there. That's probably higher than most municipalities, but that's good because umbrella coverage or excess coverage is relatively inexpensive. Most of our municipalities that are into a $5 million, so you got $6 million in play. Usually someone's requiring them, like National Grid, if you're involved in any of the street lighting or anything, they want a high limit. Some of the municipalities along the St. Lawrence River where NYPA's involved, they're using them for recreation, their lands. So certainly you can buy more liability insurance, but I would say $6 million is probably from the municipalities we see on the higher end, and I think that that's a good thing. So at some point in the past, right, we want that. The premium this year, just over 42,000. It's going to come down by 100. The invoice, Anna, is in the binder, by the way.
Okay.
That's up about 6% compared to expiring last year. Christie's email to you, Anna, I don't know where she got her numbers. She said 13. It's 6%. Some of that's our property values have gone. Obviously, a hard market, so rates. I mean, we're probably seeing that our personal lives are up. So that's probably on the moderate side. Some of our NYMER renewals are up 9 or 10%. Some of it based on budget, things like that. But overall, I think compared to the overall insurance marketplace, 6% is actually pretty good for what we're seeing. Last couple of pages are talking a little bit about the value-added things that NYMER includes in risk management. There is I can't remember what they call it, but the NYMER portal out there with lots of training opportunities, completely free, that get into some risk management type things. If you're not taking advantage of those, I'd encourage you. If you have any questions on that, Anna, I can connect you with NYMER's marketing person who can do a webinar with you to go through it. But I get lots of questions from municipalities about things like, hey, this is going on in our recreation department. NYMER's got like a 91-page handbook out there on recreation, in a webinar on that. In the questions part, lots of various training that they're just doing. So you're paying for it, whether you take advantage of it or not. Like sexual harassment training is out there for free.
Right.
That's it in a nutshell, really quick, probably as quick as I could make it. Hitting the highlights. There's a lot to it. Insurance is incredibly complicated. NYMER's policy has lots of built-in coverages. Obviously, everything is not covered. There are exclusions, limitations, things like that. It's there. There's lots of words that I didn't talk here. If anyone had any specific questions now, happy to answer them. Or if it's in the future. One thing I'll say is some of our municipalities, they want me there at whether it's the July meeting or if it's this meeting or if it's a different time during the year, maybe when we're doing the renewal every year. And it's not a burden for me to be here. I want to do what you want to do. There are others that, I hate to say they're on autopilot, but we send the renewal information, it comes back, the budget, all that stuff, and they don't ever want me to attend a meeting. It's really how you want to operate, and if that's the July meeting or if it's the meeting after the renewal or anywhere in between, just a phone call or email or text or whatever away. So that's really all I have, Anna, unless we've got any specific questions. Yeah.
I do. Thank you.
Yes. No. Yeah.
This building, it's on the National Register. It's moved from the village of Delta. Built here. It's one of the more historical, significant buildings in town. Is there an option for replacement?
So I don't believe NYMER, when we're talking historical in nature, they go functional replacement just because of that. Because functional replacement essentially gives you replacement costs for partial losses, but not a total loss. That's the thought process behind functional. But because of the historic nature, insurance companies don't necessarily want to offer replacement costs because how do you evaluate what that is when you're operating under those? If they say you've got to put plaster back up, well, in today's world, are you really going to put plaster back up? You may have to in a building like that. So they're difficult to insure. I'll double check with NYMER to see if they will, but that was one reason why it's been on functional replacement, was the historic nature of it. And a lot of insurance companies just don't want, they just don't know how to handle it, quite honestly. So functional replacement, if it burnt to the ground, right, what happens to the National Historic Register? Would they make you put something back up at exactly where that, or would you then at that point be able to really do what you want? So it's the partial losses that really come into play.
Some people really do what they want.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. But that becomes where, when you look at it from the insurance perspective, is to say, well, at that point, is it a need or is it a desire? And so they pulled it out of functional replacement, or excuse me, out of the blanket limit and put functional on it for that purpose, because it's almost, not that it's uninsurable, but it's hard to quantify what dollar amount that they put on. I'll certainly chase down that and then get back, and see if that's an option, but I don't think it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a good question. The library's the same way.
Yeah, the library is not on the National Register, and it was built in the 40s. It's not the
Right.
same as this.
Yeah, right, sure. But that's a good question. I'll chase that down with Neimer just to make sure that there's no other option. Sometimes, it's that they're in poor condition. We've seen that. And that's where we've done ECB with the cash value with temporary town hall. I know we talked about what the, we're not really sure what the future of that looks like. So, it's a good question. I'll chase down a little bit more complete answer.
Any other questions?
You still got the old, it says old town garage, but it's gone. So
Well,
why is,
right, we love that, and really, I was looking for Neimer, the underwriters, permission, not permission, what guidance on that? They didn't really give me clear guidance. If you want to remove, we can remove it, but, and I think you're talking about it a little bit later, what's the, if we're gonna put something back, then we talk about, is that structure now, does it get replaced? Because at that point, is it more than the $750,000? What's that number? And then you're gonna want coverage on it during construction.
so that we just.
Yeah, we would change the name, so instead of Old Town, we would, new under construction. Yeah. So we can remove it now. The property insurance is a really small portion of the premium, so it probably wouldn't move the dial that much. And then at whatever point construction starts, we're doing something like that. We'll put it back. Same with there's a couple of questions on some of the equipment where we're still waiting on some of that. And I think all of the vehicle we got rid of, but we can make changes at whatever point throughout the year. So as vehicles are bought and sold or destroyed or whatever.
Okay. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, no, again, I'm here if anyone, needed my personal contact, it's there, the policy's there. Did you sign that one?
I did.
And again, the invoice, and there is a correction statement correcting in there that,
Okay.
you'll see that I highlighted it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's any other questions, just let me know.
Thank you.
All right, if you don't mind, I'm gonna
Yeah.
head back down the road.
Okay. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, we'll move on to Hill. Hi.
Nice to see you all. So, the first couple of pages in our announcements this month were actually items that have already occurred. Other than the Cornell Local Roads Program continues to offer those free webinars on Tuesday mornings. So those are something you can look into. There are some other webinars coming up. On August 26th, there is one on real property tax collection that is going to be put on by the New York State Town Clerks Association, and that's Tuesday the 26th at 10:30. This is free to attend, so you can look into that if there's anything of interest. There is a workshop on August 28th from the New York State Association of Towns regarding a grant assistance program, which they refer to as GAP, which is a new initiative designed to help small population and rural towns compete for and secure New York State grant funding. It's an in-person training on the 28th from 9 to 1, and that is being held in Warrensburg. There is some information on the various topics that they are going to offer there. Let's see. In September, the 23rd through the 26th, is the annual conference and education symposium within the New York State Association of Town Superintendents of Highways. And it's going to be held in Niagara Falls. Before winter, why not go? In case that's anything of interest, there's additional information there. And the last item I'm going to mention is the U.S. Economic Development Administration fiscal year 2025 Disaster Supplemental Grant Program is making $1.45 billion available to support economic recovery activities in areas that receive major disaster declarations of hurricanes, wildfires, severe storms and flooding, tornadoes, and other natural disasters that occurred in the years 2023 and 2024. Maybe, hopefully, not that we want you to have had one, but if you had disasters, then you would fit in there and be able to apply for some grant money. So there's some information in there on that. And those grants are due by March 3rd. So there's additional information there spelled out, but just for you guys can read. So that is what I have.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Christina?
Well, the library, we just had our summer concert last week. That was in the town park. That went really, really well. Thank you to Larry and Eric for putting so much work into organizing that. We really appreciate it. And again, with our summer reading program, again, thanks to Larry, we have 17 kids signed up. So for Westernville, that's pretty big. So everybody's excited. They're all competing up there on that little bulletin board. So far, they have logged almost 4,000 minutes of reading. So that's pretty exciting. Upcoming events, this week we do have a youth watercolor class. It's grant funded, all the supplies are provided, it's free, but we do need, anyone who wants to sign up a kid, just please let us know because we have to make sure we have the supplies ready. But that's this week on the 14th, so schedule fast if you want to get in. We have an adult basket weaving class coming up on September 6th. More programs to be determined. And then the last thing for the library, we are looking at going back to New York State and requesting more funding for our basement construction project. They're a little bit weird about how they allow things. You know, we had the one project that, you know, we've been going through the big process trying to figure out how to whittle that down to a reasonable amount. We can go back and request more funding. We have to make sure we haven't done an amendment on the first one, so the second one can't overlap. We're just working through all those details, but what we're looking for is installing an ADA bathroom down there, which would allow us to host events without accessibility concerns. So we've been told this is a good year to get a 75% match. If we apply, we have to show that we have the funds for 50% match. But the whole, you know, we've been told it's very likely we would only have to put up 25% of the cost. So what we were thinking is going in, asking for $32,000, at the most the match would be $16,000, but we're hoping it would be more like $8,000. But just putting that out there for the town's consideration, that's currently in progress.
Okay, thanks. It's on our agenda for later in new business to do the letter, if we agree to do the letter. Thanks, Christina. Our county legislator.
Thank you, Anna, and I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. But the first thing I want to say is the county executive announced the release of the 2025-2030 agricultural strategic plan. It's 67 pages long, and I'd like to read this to you. But anyways, I'm going to put this in a nutshell. It's a comprehensive roadmap for strengthening the region's ag economy, protecting farmland, and expanding opportunities for farmers, agribusiness across the county. The in-depth strategy, you did it online, like I say. It is 67 pages. No, I'm not going to read it. The other thing is, Wednesday we'll be voting on a local law to enact the equivalent of an occupancy tax on short-term rentals, which would be your Airbnb and Vrbo. It's a 5% thing. It'll level the playing field with hotels, motels, and bed and breakfast. And the Commissioner of Finance will have the ability to create a short-term rental registry so we can collect these taxes, and which boils down to more revenue for the
county, okay? And that was enacted by the state. That's 42 pages, so if you want to read about that, go online. I'm not going to read that either. But here's some good revenues. Gaming revenues for the second quarter was up 5.6%. So we collected from the nation $6,099,250 over the same period of 2024. Like I said, 5.6% interest. So the economy must be good because you have people going to the casino and spending some cash. The first 6 months stands at $11.7 million, up nearly 3% from the same period a year ago. Sales tax revenue, which the county's largest source of income, I think I told you that, is up for the first 6 months to $98 million, a slight gain of $1.4 million or 1.5% over the same time period last year. And that's all I have. Thank you. Yeah, at least some talk about it.
We'll move on to old business. The first order of old business is talking about the purchase of our town pickup truck for plowing the smaller roads and things. Preston?
Okay, well, Dave mentioned at the last meeting about moving up one size to more of a medium duty truck. We got a quote on that, it's available. That would be $180,400.
Is that on a state contract?
That's a pre-built package truck they have. There was two available, maybe there's none available now, this is probably still. But, it's a pretty nice truck, it is this has a 23,000 GVWR, but it has a wing on it, which proved pretty handy, but one thing that really gets me is it does not come with a V-plow, and it's not available with a V-plow. Some of the hills, some of the roads, the only way we got is to go in, up, and sometimes I bet if I couldn't make it, it would be with one of the other trucks. I don't know if we could push it. And that's a lot of money to spend I'm willing to try, but, I don't know what we would do if it failed. I mean, we have a backup.
What's that not available?
It's a package that they make. It's actually Everest is one of the big plow manufacturers like you see on the big trucks we own, and that's how they do them. I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't retrofit one yourself to get it to work, but would be a project. And the biggest V, I think it makes 10 foot. So there's spots where this truck I think really shine, like parking lots, George Street, Oliver Road, the ones that you gotta go in and make, instead of in and out, sometimes we gotta do a little forward, in, out, you know what I mean, to get it pushed back with the wing.
And where are some of the situations where you're concerned?
That I can't make it? Mesler, Katie Road. Katie Road, you're going down, so you probably, I'm not as concerned with that. Mesler, I don't know if we do it. You put it, you put it in V and you pray to someone whether you believe in them or not, and just give it all it's got. I've not made it a couple times. But this truck would sand in front of the tires, the other ones behind the tires, but we put a lot of sand on it, so it's typically some down from the times before. And if you know it's going to be bad, we'll go out and pre-treat it, kind of, we call it. So that's that.
What brand is it?
International. You guys maybe bring a lot of stuff to it. Yeah, that was International, a CB515. It says it's a 23,000 GVWR. We are running 550s. They do make a 600, which a 550 is a 19,000 GVWR. A 600 is a 22,000. So it's a closer truck to that one. It's still not the same. But that will come, you can get with a V-plow. It will come with a new sander, a new stainless steel dump box. That's an issue that we have. dump boxes are lasting maybe 4 years, and you can poke your fingers through them because they're just not meant for it. We've found some trucks available, and the stuff is available, but you're looking at probably like an 8-week build time from when they got the truck, just for scheduling and all of that. So you're starting to push when you would need it, so we're starting to get into like, I don't want to say an emergency, but you know what I mean, like if you're gonna do it, it's gotta happen. That, like I said, the other was 188,400, this would be about 112,000, because there's a couple, you know, you can change this, change that, but.
That's on the state contract too?
Well, there's municipal pricing on it, but the problem with, they don't really participate in the state contract anymore. You could order one through Sourcewell, but it comes out of California actually, and it just wouldn't happen, you know. You could get it from extra if you know.
Buy it directly from the manufacturer, or is it through the dealer?
Well, that's through Sourcewell, that's kind of how it works, is that it's through the manufacturer, but I don't know where California comes into play.
My only concern is if it's something you need, that definitely needs to happen, and it's that much, then do we have to go out to bid for it?
Yep.
Unless it's on the state contract, or there's a different contract that we can piggyback off.
What the ones that I've talked to told me is, because it's all mini bids now, like I would build exactly what I'm looking for and I send it to them, and then they take it, wad it up and throw it in the garbage because they don't participate in them.
They won't participate.
No, because it's just availability of everything. We ran into it last year. I mean, if anybody else wants to take over this, they can do it. I'm just saying, this is the worst thing, trying to shop for a truck because they don't do it anymore.
Well, and when you order them, if they don't have one ready, which they frequently don't, it's ages. I know plows maybe aren't as bad, but at a different municipality I work for, they waited like almost 2 years for a fire truck, which is admittedly a bit more complicated, but I think they waited almost 2 years for a garbage truck.
Yeah, we have a truck, it's 3 years.
You've been waiting for 3 years?
Yeah, no, it's been in Syracuse for almost a year.
Waiting for some necessary.
There's 2 trucks in Syracuse, big trucks, of ours, that, we got, the other day, a recall on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them.
Well, then, we're gonna figure out how to get whatever you guys all decide to get for the highway department into the most legally compliant.
Right. That's the issue, is like when you call them and ask if they would participate, they just say no.
But they aren't going, the dealers won't, you're saying?
Yeah, they don't want to know anything about it. Or like the other truck, that is through a Sourcewell contract. I mean, it's not even in New York, you know, New Hampshire. So.
That's okay.
Well, I mean, they'll bring it to us.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah, get it, but.
So the truck for 112 is a what?
That would be a Ford F600. Yeah.
And then has the V-plow and the stainless steel?
Stainless sander, stainless dump box, be a painted steel plow. Stainless ones, I pulled them up on the roads. But like you said, that truck, the sticker on it, because someone local has it, was 75.7, and they said they'd sell it for less than 72. And that was a lot better deal than I ever found trying to do many bids last year on the other thing. Yeah, I don't know how you, they're getting around it somehow, because we're not the only ones that have fallen in this situation.
Well, it must be throughout New York State because there's such a shortage of trucks and snowplows.
That's part of the issue. That's what Andy said last year.
They're not gonna sell us a
They're
truck and
only
lose
getting so
money
many.
when they can sell it to
Right.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I believe all the truck manufacturers are being pushed to sell electric in the state, and that's why you can't get trucks.
Well, and actually, I don't even, like this F600, I don't think you can order it in New York anymore. That's weird, that's one of them almost fell in between the law that they were trying to push.
I believe it was on the news, Utica Mac had it sell an electric truck before they can sell any more diesels.
Do an electric snowplow?
You know, put the infrastructure in to And we jazz that 3 of them probably for that one.
Yeah.
But either way, that's what we got on that.
Now, of those two, in your expert opinion, which one would you rather lean towards? The 112, because it would fit more situations because it has the V plow, or go up one step and try to manage with the straight lane?
I mean, we know the one works.
Yeah.
Like you said, I know when it's a pain as well, because you don't have like the rain or it's a little bit lighter truck, but we know it works.
Yeah.
But so it probably would be the cheaper one. As much as I would look pretty cool driving the other one.
That's probably designed too more for like the village in New Hartford and places like
That's
that.
what we're using. I mean, there are some and they claim that they do pretty good on the hills, but
Yeah, but they,
I don't know what their hills are.
not that much.
Yeah.
So, any opinions, thoughts?
Like Preston's kind of leaning towards the 112, and that's where I'm kind of falling because of the V plow. In our area, that would make a big difference. You know, the bigger one would be nice for other situations, but, you know.
It would be nice to the parking lots or the streets, the flat street too.
Right,
Yes,
yeah, but you're also spending more money for something that might not be working what you need it for.
I mean, I could try checking with Sourcewell and see what they thought on a time frame, but they're, I know last year when we checked it, it wasn't good.
And really, we kind of need a decision tonight of what we're going to pursue in order to get it in time for the,
Yeah, this is August already.
So the lesser expensive one would pretty much be replacing what we've been using?
Correct.
Be very similar.
It'd be almost the exact replacement, just a little heavier.
A little bit, and that's been moving well.
Yeah. I mean, the ones we have now have central hydraulics on them, but that's like a $23,000 to $25,000 option. And if you're gonna swap the trucks out, you know, I mean, you're just throwing away. They claim the electric sanders are supposed to work. Give it a shot. Because it would be like another $16,000, and then we would actually have to run the old sander. Because the new sand, that won't include the sander. It would be not many cent crunching towards the other truck.
For the 112 of the sander,
Sander plow and dump.
whole dump box, and take off or the sander inside?
Sander in it, just so we do now.
Well, that 600 is a medium truck though, in the Ford lineup, isn't it?
Well,
Is it?
it's a little, it's not, it's like,
They always got them.
it's a 650, yeah, they overlap a little bit. If they have a F-650 and a 750, this is a 600, I didn't know the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think the 112 one, or the $100,000 truck. I'm a great believer with the V-Plow.
What I'm gonna suggest is this, to make it clear. Send me the information on this truck. I'm gonna review the general municipal law, and I'm going to figure out how we can do this. I know you're probably gonna want to get something ordered before the next meeting. Would you be willing to have a brief special meeting within the next couple of days?
yeah,
Okay. Do you mind if we do it that way?
I think that,
Are you
Oh,
okay?
yeah, that's fine with me.
Just email me the information, and I'm gonna figure out if it's something that, figure out how we can make sure this happens. Okay?
that's how we did it last year, was, it
Yeah.
wasn't available, and we just went to a dealer.
That one was used though, so it didn't
Used,
change.
yeah,
it.
that's right.
And it might even fall under, you know, an
Emergency
So,
situation.
yeah, so that's what we gotta figure out, and we'll get you back there as soon as possible.
Because it's the same with even like we found last year, like, oh, that's the perfect truck right there. And you contact them on it, and, oh, well, that one's sold, we just put it on the website so people can see it. Like, you make 40 phone calls and find out that there's 2 available, and they're 300 miles away. It's interesting.
Okay,
All right, we'll look at
so
that.
we'll table it, you'll send Catherine the information. Thank you. Okay, on to sand quotes for the coming year. I think Preston said you had 6 of them, Preston?
5, yes.
5, Mr. said.
That's a 6. See, time.
Is it 6?
Oh, this is dog and animals.
Right, so we ended up with 6, and they were from just anybody I could think of who had sand in the area. Some of it's a lot further away than others, and the prices have ranged pretty impressively, up to $15 a ton. We have to remember, like, this year is going to be one of the biggest years probably this town's ever purchased because it's empty. So I'm anticipating about, you know, of course, it's a round pile, so it's hard to, probably 6,500 yards, which puts you up towards 9,750 tons, I think it was. So no matter how you want to do the math, it's a lot. Yeah, 9,750. So we've had, like I said, we've had quotes of $15 a ton, then that's us picking it up, and that's actually one of the further places away, all the way down to $5 a ton. It's a big spread, and then we had some that sells it by the yard, which isn't a bad way to do it, because when you're buying dirt, if it's raining, you're buying the water too. So you're buying water weight. Sand can vary anywhere from 1.4 tons to the yard up to probably 1.7, you know, on a damn wet year. So we got 2 quotes that are pretty similar on the actual amount. Once you break it down, one's by the yard, one's by the ton. The one that's by the yard that's the cheapest is a round trip of about 5 miles. The one that's basically the same price, but it is a round trip of about 34 miles. So that's something that we need to do. Of us hauling, right. So that's something that we have to take into account, that probably 5 miles to the gallon at $2.68 a gallon is what we last paid for fuel.
Is that the TJ Allen one?
Yes. And that's on Murphy Road up in Ava. So, like up there, you're gonna run roughly, by the time they load you and all that, about, maybe you can get a load an hour. And the other one, you could probably do almost 3 loads an hour per truck. So you're gonna do 3 times the amount in the same amount of time, you know.
And the Ava sand is the sand with the clay in it,
It's
right?
got a little, yeah, it's got some clay in it, it's a little tacky, it hangs up in the sanders. They ran, well, this year, actually, we ran 3 different types of sand down there, because we did what we did last year across the road. We got into this sand, which also flowed really well, then we got into some other sand that hung up. And the truck we were just talking about with the small sanders, you couldn't even run it through it. You could mix with some stone in the warm temperatures. That's up. You guys,
With all the facets of this, what you are.
with that,
Being aware of all the facets, what are your feelings?
I would go with the one that runs through the sanders better, and it's 5-mile round trip.
Save a lot on
I
fuel
think-
and wear and tear on.
Oh, wear and tear alone, and that not even counting the fuel.
And plus less hours for your men.
Right, well, because that's, Like you said, 6,500 yards, you're talking over 400 loads.
No, you should, it's a, with the one that Schellenberg,
We really should say the company names and give what their quote is.
Yeah.
If you want me to do it, or...
Whoever. Well, the one is, which the town has bought sand from them before, is DA Schellenberg Construction. That's the one that's 2.4 miles each way from our barn. The other one is TJ Allen. He's actually out of, he's at Newport. He has a pit off on Murphy Road in Avon. And he says $5 a ton. So like I said, you're looking at it two different ways, but you gotta factor in the fuel, the time, the wear and tear.
how many tons did you get?
750. It takes a long time.
17 miles each way.
And that's for the little pin sand? Clay? The little clay?
Yeah, it's got something to do. Kind of like that, to it.
Save a lot of wear and tear on the vehicle, time, understand. So then he said also, did you recommend this?
Yeah.
And also it's within the town, so it's supporting town business.
I mean, I can use jobs all that, you think you're for one, the other one, we still work together.
Based on the information and what Preston was recommending, I would go with the DA Schellenberg. Prices are very similar, plus the sand quality is better, save a lot of wear and tear on the vehicles, save men's time hauling it, and also it's a local company, so we're supporting businesses that reside in the town. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask, dates and work, and it's, is related to the company. Is there any problem?
So that should be disclosed, and
Well, I'm a partner in my business.
you're a partner in the business, and you should abstain
That's right.
from the vote. Yep.
What you thought, Dave?
No, I agree with the closeness of the Schellenberg property would be, I mean, the wear and tear, you're gonna put, what, a couple thousand miles on a truck by the time you get it all delivered.
Yeah. And there would be all guys on, all into the other one, I could have guys doing ditching or something, all these
Yeah.
guys all. I don't know, to me, it makes more sense, but.
It's ultimately the lowest cost bid too, based on the amount of hours that you're gonna have guys in the truck, using the truck, yeah, gas.
Quality, that's the reasons.
Right, well, I mean, it's taking 3 trucks to do it in a day, to get it from here, is what 1 truck can do that. I mean,
That's huge.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we, contract with DA Schellenberg Construction for us and
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you want to mark down?
Mark name. Thank you. All right.
And also in the motion, could we list those
Yeah,
several reasons, closeness
yeah.
within the town?
We'll also list all the bids.
Yeah.
In there, or the... Thank you, everybody. All right, that's all the old business I had. Is there anything else from anyone else? All right, moving on to new business. Our first item of new business is the cold storage building for the highway department, which is to replace our old highway town barn that collapsed this past winter. The plan this will be on the website with the minutes of the meeting. We just got it. But this is the plan, this is the proposal of the plan. What we need tonight is to put it out for bid. You know, if there's any questions, then Catherine has written up the wording for the bid process. We'll get it in the paper and set a date, have the bids back by next month's meeting so that we can get under construction by that.
Did that give everybody that bids on this enough time to formulate their bid and get it to us by the next meeting?
A month should be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, just looking at this, I just happened to notice that, floor remains unfinished, existing grade 2 floor. Future 6-inch concrete slab, so that means that the slab concrete would not be included.
Well, what happened was, just because we're under a huge time crunch for this, if it can even happen, it's gonna be a miracle, just everybody's so busy, and it's a big building. So what I was worried about, because originally the floor was in it, we just took it out a couple days ago, but think about it, if you were doing the job, we run into bad weather in December, are we gonna not pay the contractor because he couldn't pour the floor? You know, like, this way it was just, you pull the floor out, get the barn built, get them paid. We were thinking about adding that as an addendum on the back, that they can bid on the floor if they want, and we can actually ask for other prices on the floor from Mason
I
and
think that
Rob.
would be a good idea.
Well, I do too, and that's what we were supposed to do, but I don't have that part of it yet. You know what I'm saying? You get to the end of the year and you want to get paid, the weather, you can't control the weather, it's 0 out and you can't pour this concrete.
And you'll be,
Now, we're
you'll
gonna
be okay using it?
It'll be fine. What are you gonna do? They just gotta get it up. And this doesn't have electrical on it, it doesn't, I mean, all that stuff will have to come down the road, but.
Just cold storage for now.
It's cold storage.
It's going in the same spot, basically.
Yeah, so we're gonna move it over, just a few feet.
The engineer actually did a really good job putting together the bid spec and the bid package. I just zhuzhed it up a little bit.
So like you said, we have he did a whole truss drawing here, we have all of that. Because this building actually falls under, what do you say, like a class 4 for, where it's essential, so like the specs for it are way higher than a normal building. Like, they have 3x3 by 16-inch concrete footers in this thing.
Because you don't ever want the ceiling to collapse again.
On important people.
On important people.
So, and I had them actually bump the snow load a little bit higher on it, and the lean-to part on the side, which would be super handy, actually adds to the strength because the height of the building, you know, the tall wall is a weak point in it, so now it ties all that together because it's a 12-foot. And like, we put a lot into this. It's not like we just threw something at it. It's quite a bit bigger. We were totally maxed out. The equipment's getting bigger. We're hopefully acquiring more. I mean, yeah.
A lot of the other municipalities had the same thing happen to them this year, and I think they're going with the higher snow load rating too, because they've learned the lesson now. It's just
The hard way.
The hard way. I'm gonna say to the board, we're gonna put this out for bid at the next meeting on September 8th, I believe, and the statute is silent on how many times it has to be published in the newspaper, just that it has to be published for the first time at least 5 days before the bid on ceiling. I'm going to recommend that you run it in the paper once a week until the day you open the bids. I will prepare a notice to go in the paper. I'll put that to Melissa by the end of the week. And you can also advertise it in other places, advertise it we have a website, on the website, on Facebook. I believe like even WKTV reports out on bids being accepted sometimes, so.
Because we are having a special meeting about the truck, can we incorporate this into that special meeting and maybe get things moving a little faster?
The only issue is gonna be that special meeting might happen like within the next, like, week and a half, so I think that wouldn't be enough time for people to get their proposals together. So I would suggest you wait until, maybe September 8th is pretty far out, but no earlier, I would say, than like August 31st. This is a big project, people are gonna have to look at the numbers and talk to suppliers and
it's an 11-page, you know, the rules and regulations on this, like, you gotta do your homework, you gotta make sure that you're applying, you know, the insurance is gonna be provided, and you gotta make sure you have the right insurance. There's a lot.
There's a lot that goes into
You
it.
struggle to bid this on a couple of weeks.
Yeah, they need them.
I hope people are gonna.
But we can advertise.
Oh, absolutely, you gotta advertise it, because then you get more bids. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're gonna get it in paper as soon as possible, and then we'll get it to any other news organization.
I'm gonna actually.
So you're saying that the bids will come in at the bids will be
They have to
open
be-
on the 11th or
The 8th.
September, whatever.
Yes, and we're advertising for it continuously until then. But, I mean, people that find out later, just but get it out there now.
Do the Boonville Herald too.
Boonville Herald? What do you usually do, once a month? Yeah, I do. Okay.
Well, Rome goes to you now, right?
Yeah, Rome is doing all the news reporting.
Okay. So, are we all set there then? Yeah. We need a
Do we
motion?
need a motion to put it out to a bid, I think?
I think so, yeah, and to call for the bids to be unsealed September 8th.
I'll make that motion, put this out for a bid and have the bids open on September 8th.
Second motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Next on the list is the library grant. Christina reached out to us, they'd like to look at the grant and expand for the basement. What they're asking the town for is a letter that acknowledges that the town owns the building, we're okay with the construction taking place in a town-owned building. And the second part of that is with the funding. Would we be willing to cover the cost up to $16,000? They're hoping that with enough grant money, it'll drop down to $8,000, but
Our commitment
would be $16,000 or, less depending on how the grant came through. We've covered before and then okay, so any other questions on it?
So this is doing more of that basement that we talked about
Yeah.
last spring.
So just give some additional information. We put the first phase out, which came in 2 to 3 times higher than what we were anticipating. So Glenn and I, along with Christina, we need to go back and the scope of that project, scale it down and put that back out for bid for within the range of their funding. Now, also, that first scope, kind of, if you're familiar with the basement or not, there's a furnace room which included on the first scope to put a wall, a new entryway there, and to kind of like frame in where the bathroom is going to go. So with the second bid, it would cover the whole bathroom area and that wall, so we can pull that out of the first bid to help scale that first one down. So the two projects will tie in together. The hope is when these two projects are done, there'll be a nice recreational room where the library can hold classes and have events and so forth. Make it usable.
And a grant would cover
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? A motion to write the letter?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Danny, I'm going to abstain because I'm the director of the library, so
Okay.
no conflict.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, the third item up is a resolution. Judge Berger approached us. There's a grant coming up for security for the courtroom, which would cover this building. He wondered if we were interested in applying for it. We would be. He would do it, but he needed a resolution from us tonight in order to put in for the grant. It's for up to $30,000 in security.
What sort of things would
The
that like to include?
camera and like that.
Is this the news report?
Yes.
I talked
It
to,
would be the outside wall.
yeah, I talked to Judge Berger about this, I saw him at Florida Town Court. He's, looking, this is an older building, most of the local courts, many of the local courts have gotten these, Justice Court Assistance Program, JCAP grants.
They're getting enhanced security, so some of them have gotten metal detectors. There definitely could be cameras, it could be other things for modernizing court operations, so, and making the operations more efficient. It could be some computer equipment, but I think its focus is going to be on security for the courtroom. Because they have felony hearings sometimes, there are warrants. He's been in situations, I don't think here, but in Floyd or other places where people have kind of gotten a little out of control. I think there's also talking to me about having a deputy from, at the DA court nights.
He had one last month for DA night because of the agenda.
But he,
Is it a sheriff or?
No, he contracts with a Viscany.
but this grant would, the money would be used for that, and Judge Berger, I think, has gone through this process before, and he and his clerk Rhiannon seem to know how to do all the work for it.
Yeah, sounds like a great idea.
Along with that, he asked me if we would consider letting him put in for chairs and tables that would be courtroom appropriate. He said even though, he said we could use them now for meetings if he got the monies, and then as things progress, they can move, although the courtroom is staying pretty much in this area, if all goes according to plan. So I told him I'd bring it up tonight and see if people were in, if
I'd just like to see what it's gonna look like.
they're regular, like you would see in a courtroom, oak wood tables, chairs that are kind of like what Cora had gotten, the ones we were using before, but maybe just more wood. Yeah, I'll ask him tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll leave. I'll email him and,
Has that.
yeah. Oh, Floyd does. He's gotten everything with Floyd.
Wooden pews, actually, and then the heavy oak wood tables and everything.
Yeah. But I'm sure I'll email him and ask him to drop off some information tomorrow night.
I think it's a good idea because it's a grant, so it's
Yeah.
fully funded.
Just, I'm gonna just revise this so that you can, I'll have everybody's name, yea or nay, and then you can sign and seal it. I'll put that on there. Okay?
So a motion to pass the resolution for Judge Berger?
I'll make that motion.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody. The last item of the night is dog enumeration. It has been suggested that the town did this, it's probably going on 20 years or so ago, when they sent out letters to individuals trying to get people to license their dogs. And it's noticed that there are dogs now unlicensed in that. So Missy looked into it, a company that will come do this, they will do a first notice dog enumeration by letter. They will format the letter, they will mail them, everything is included. Then they will do attachments for route map selection or detail map layout, or specialized advisement if over where a P.O. box is located. The total cost would be $503.82. They do it, it'll be distributed to the residents after overlaying the mailing data upon your town border lines. They estimate approximately 95% of all residents will receive the notice. 100 pieces will be mailed to the town to pass out per dog owner basis to catch the ones that might not get on the mailing list. So, any thoughts?
You have licensed in town.
Not a lot.
Probably like 70.
Maybe.
There was one town that said they had 1,200 residents, so a little bit smaller than us, and got 100 new dogs licensed by doing this.
When you look at the cost, it's works out to be just a little over 50 cents per letter, so with the price of a normal mailing and
Yeah.
doing a letter, it's a reasonable cost. Don't know if it's gonna help, but it probably won't hurt.
I think it helped when Mary did it back then. It
Yeah.
seems like many years ago.
So, just get a dog license, I know, what's the, they want a list of the dogs, we just track rabies, or is it?
So what they're doing is this guy is going to send,
Yeah, I know what he's doing.
Well, so-
Why do you want it?
A dog
Why do you want a
license?
dog license?
you want a dog license for many reasons.
One, it's law.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying,
Why do you want it? So
what's the,
in a rural area, it's very important that the dogs are licensed, and they're getting licensed only upon proof of rabies vaccination.
I knew something.
So it has to do with that. It's basically just ensuring, first of all, that dogs that are living in this town, especially in a rural area where there are farm animals, are vaccinated against rabies and other diseases. And also, if a dog is lost, there's a better chance it will be reunited with its owner, and that if a dog is misbehaved and licensed, then we know whose it is. So this is something that I didn't used to, I lived in the city, okay, and I live in the city, and I didn't license my dog. But my dog doesn't get out, and he doesn't roam, and he doesn't live in the country. And it's a whole different ballgame when they do. Dogs that run over to somebody's yard and kill their chickens. You wanna know who that dog belongs. This came up in the town in Trenton. It's actually still going on. We had one year, we had like 4 or 5 dog bites one summer, and some of them weren't licensed, and it was a real problem. We didn't know how to find them, we didn't know, it was a problem.
What's a dog license? How much is it?
No, we charge $10, $15.
$16 for newer 18.
How much is what's the percentage of that the town gets? It's pretty high, isn't it?
For the neutered, we get $5. The state gets $1. And the neutered, they get free.
Where is it?
I get 15. State, the state gets that $3 or the $1, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Any other thoughts, questions? You want to do it?
Maybe give it a shot.
Before you guys dismiss, I have a legality issue that I want to talk to in executive session if possible.
You want to, he's appointed.
Oh, can I talk to you outside first?
Sure.
Or you stop. Come back here, Mike. It's on mine. Don't trouble. Yeah, leave your way through.
No, I guess we should probably do it.
What's that?
You have no idea what
It's low. What we doing again?
The number that
Squash tends to do this.
Or,
We squash it.
number that are,
I mean, we're gonna talk.
there's a lot that are not.
Right there.
There's far more that are not
and that are,
than are.
I know some people have chips and stuff with their dogs, they gotta go register, or license, right? What do you think about the return? We send out 100 chips, get some bags, or?
I don't know, I would think, yeah, that would be a fair.
Well, they would be sending out like, yeah, we got 50% of our bags.
I would say let's give it a shot, because they just, the rest of them,
They've got,
so what do you think, give it a shot?
I've been to a Amish farm, they have got a dog or more.
Yeah.
See, that can't be, that can't be.
Okay, so think about it, or?
We really can't, because he was a member of the public, just like, if you said, hey, then we should, stop and give him a
A lot of people
He's a private citizen with a private business. He's a 501c3 organization in this town, like a gas station. So if you own a gas station in town, you walk in here and say, executive session, would they break for you? This guy is not.
Can everyone just settle down a minute while we settle this, please?
So that's all I'm
Do you want to make a motion? Do you want to table it the next month? Think about it?
Not much to think about, really. It's a shot in the dark. Might help, might not. It's a reasonable cost, like I said.
Less than half their point out, there's good reasons for obsolescence.
There is.
I'll make that motion, that we go ahead with it.
Okay, a second?
I want to talk to my dog for a bit.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Now, we can adjourn, right, because Mike's...
Well, was he wanting
I wanted
the board to go into executive session?
Yeah, I know, but...
Well, you can't adjourn yet then.
Well,
Check it out.
let me go see what the issue is.
I didn't even catch what he said. Something about...
Yeah.
Yeah, what type of issue?
Don't know if it's about radios
That kind of...
or the fact that we had an accident where they used likeness. He's in trouble with that. Yeah. No,
Can I have a motion for this,
adjournment?
adjournment, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. I know it's been a long night.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Okay, hopefully you can hear. So what we have here tonight happening at the last minute is the fire chief, a public citizen who owns a private business in the town of Western, walks into the town board meeting and asks the town attorney if they can get into an executive session with the town board because of a possible legal issue for the fire department. Now, this is clearly out of line, even for a fire department to ask of a town board. In this kind of a situation, this is just like a person that owns the gas station in town coming into a town hall meeting and approaching the board and saying, hey, look, before you guys break, I'd like to go into an executive session with you because I have a problem. I have a legal issue that I think we need to address. So in this case, the fact that the town attorney actually stepped away with that gentleman and then allowed the board to close the meeting down was the right thing to do. This is just not the kind of an issue that you can bring to a public board meeting as a private citizen, even if you do own the fire station or manage a private entity such as a gas station and or the fire department in the town of Western. So we're glad that that was resolved. As well, we had some concerns with the Schallenberg, D.A. Schallenberg, supplying the sand for the town of Western, and the town basically saying, hey, look at all of the money we can save by actually using the family of a sitting council person to supply that sand to the town. So that is a very difficult question. That's an ethical concern because the family of Dave Schallenberg, Doug Schallenberg and Dave are brothers. The family of Dave Schallenberg will benefit from the money that the town that he is a council person for will be spending for that. What do you want to do? Unplug it?
No, that's my fan.
You got. Take it.
As long as we're unplugged and done.
Can you plug that in?
Okay. So we're attempting to resolve that question with respect to the Schallenbergs participating locally for sand to the tune of, who knows, is it $75,000 or more in the town of Western? We don't know. We haven't calculated it out, although we did see that there are various other quotes in there between 97,000 and up and down. So we just don't know how what the ethics are of that kind of a choice by the members of this board to vote to approve that project to purchase sand internally from a member of the town who is a family member of Dave Schallenberg, who sits on the board right here. So we're going to look into that a little bit more and kind of see if what kind of information we can get on that, whether or not it's something that needs to be looked at by the ethics board in the town of Western for that decision made by the board tonight. So thank you so much for joining us. We're the last ones out. We're going to take off here. Thanks for joining us, Town of Western Civic Affairs. We're here for you. Okay, this is, what's the date today?
The 11th.
August 11th, 2025.
With this weather for 200 years. We've
Yeah.
been with it for one night. Oh, and feel how good it is once you come outside.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, this is heavenly out here.
So we have quite a few folks here tonight for this meeting. You're good. Have a good night, Dave. So I did want to cover one last thing, and that is that even though we do have the town recording these meetings on a laptop with cameras, that those meetings aren't being provided to the public whatsoever. It seems that it's a private process here for the town to use that recording process for their own benefit and not for the public in the town of Western that is paying for that equipment, for that use of that equipment, and for the information that's being transcribed via that equipment in these town board meetings. It is a crying shame that the town voted to do video recording and zooming of these meetings over a year ago and no results in place for that process, other than they're still determining whether it's going to be a viable option for the town and for its people to have that option available to them.
Well, we had 7 to 10 folks online tonight at various times, and we would venture to say that there were 12 to 15 folks in the town hall, with 5 of those folks being the people that are required or that do speak in those meetings, not members of the public. So we had about 10 members of the public in the town hall tonight, and with about 7 to 10 folks watching from home, we have as many folks watching from home as we have actually attending this meeting. So you would have to ask the town then, is the fact that those folks that are here and those folks that are home watching this being the same count, is it more beneficial to have it or not? That's going to be for the town board to answer, and of course, they won't answer it the way the people want. This town board's going to answer it the way they want, regardless as to how many people are watching these meetings, because in the town of Western, it's all about non-transparency, and that's what you saw tonight. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight in the town of Western for another Arbitrary Monthly here. Thanks so much for being with us.